Welcome back to the program. Glad you're with us this morning. My name is Dr. Sock. This is Fresh Air in the Morning right here on Island 92 and Z 105.1 FM. It is that time on the morning where let's see, today's Thursday. The holidays are over. Please join me welcoming my usual Thursday morning partner in crime, our managing editor of Cree Broadcasting Network News and the host of St. Martin Insights News that matters to you, the one and only Emil Lee. Good morning.
Good morning, Sock. Good morning, listeners. Great to be back.
We're glad you're here, and please join us in welcoming our guest this morning, Member of Parliament, the one and only, the Honorable Darryl York. You get the Dr. Sock Award for the best Parliament hair.
No, not now for sure. Not now for sure.
I tease you. I'm jealous.
I'm having some bad hair days at the moment, but don't worry.
Listen. Maybe it's the Connecticut in me, right? Because nobody had dreads locks like this up north, and I just think it's the cool. I'm jealous. I wish I could do it.
Well, it comes with some responsibility. You gotta maintain it.
Trust me, you gotta have something to maintain, man. Anyway, a pleasure to see you, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation to come in this morning. I know it was kind of last minute. I called you, but I wanted to kind of have a conversation with you, if I could, about one of the hot buttons that's all over we changed microphones? Okay, hang on. Okay, let's see. There we go. Let's see. That better? There we go. Talk to me, MP. Make sure I got John.
Testing.
There we go. Okay, perfect. So one of the hot buttons I think that we hear every year during high season is always about the traffic. The traffic gets bad every year around this time, and this year feels like a very typical bad traffic year, given how busy the island is. I'm happy for the busy. I really am. I think it's a great thing. I'm glad we're busy. But I know you've come out and had some serious thoughts and comments about the traffic. I'm wondering, when we look at last year to this year and we think about the traffic, it feels pretty similar to me, but I see a lot of public outcry this year. I mean, are there any metrics that kind of measure this stuff? I mean, how do we know what's really going on? And because regardless of if it was the same as last year or worse than last year, the solutions I think are still the same. We just haven't done them.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, to have metrics, you need to have data.
Yeah.
And to have data, you need to be collecting the data. And we're still not doing either of the two.
Well, that's a problem.
And this is something that in 2024, I was sworn in on the 25th of September. And I think the first budget debates we had were in November of that year, and this was the first thing that I brought to the floor, in the sense of what we need to do and how we need to go about it. At least I suggested it. And one thing that I left the meeting feeling optimistic about, the minister at the time said, "We believe in evidence-based decision making." And in order to have evidence, you need to have information, and information is data, and for data, you got to collect it. So I was under the assumption that would have been done. And now we're, a year and a half further, and it's, crickets. You don't hear anything from the ones in charge about it.
Because I'm just watching what's happening, and Emil, jump in like anytime you disagree with me. But when I look at how it felt last year to drive during the wrong time, the busy time of the afternoon, to leave the airport and get through Simpson Bay and get over the hill, it was an hour journey. I look at last year and I look at this year, and it's the same thing. You kind of have to plan your. It doesn't feel any worse this year than last year. So we're repeating the same thing over and over again and not making any changes.
I don't agree with that one.
Yeah, neither do. And I would say that before it might be more rush hour. Now it's just
Exactly. It's
all day
it's
long.
straight throughout
you,
the
you
day.
can't say no. In the past, I think you'd say, okay, look, if you go around, let's say 10 to 11, or from 1 to 2, or whatever, you'd sort of pick your times. You'd say it shouldn't be too bad. Now it's just all day.
See, I have to tell you, I had wildly different experience. Like yesterday, I left here at 11:30. I stopped at the hospital to visit someone, and then I went over to the Rotary Clubhouse. So I left here, went over the hill, did all of that stuff. I left here at 12 o'clock, a few minutes after 12, and still made it to my 12:30 lunch meeting.
But it's unpredictable. That's the problem. Different times of the day, like today coming over, there was very light traffic. I came from Oyster Pond to here. But sometimes it's just really heavy. Sucker Garden's all backed up. So the problem is, if you want to be on time for appointments, you have to
Leave early.
factor in
Yeah.
that it could be an hour. So you end up here early. Like today, I was here way early.
Mhm.
So it costs time, actually, whether there's
And time is
traffic or
money.
not.
Time and money. So the thing that you know when I go back to early December of this year, late November, early December, as the season kicked off, all of a sudden we kicked off two big projects right in the start of season. We decided we were going to fix all the potholes, which had been spray painted and marked for like a month, right? But nobody bothered to do anything. So we're going to wait till there's lots of people here to start to fill the potholes, number one.
Some of the potholes.
Yes, some of the potholes. And then number two, they decided that we were going to now do all the work on Billy Folly up into Pelican. And we go, oh, what's that? Doesn't really affect anything. Well, no, it does, because everything that backs up in and out of Billy Folly backs up onto Welfare Road and Airport Road, creating even more congestion. And a lot of this is just while the end result of what happened in Billy Folly up into Pelican did a beautiful job.
You think so?
Yeah, they did a nice job on the road. They really did.
Aesthetically,
Well, the road is way better than it was.
wait till it rains.
Well, yeah, that's a different issue.
No, that's one of the issues of the road.
Yeah, but-
the road had a drainage problem, and that's why it got to the state that it was. Deterioration,
Mhm.
rapid deterioration, and the only thing was it stayed like that for years.
Mhm.
Now the road is repaired, but the problem is not fixed,
Well, without
and
a
$1 million
doubt.
is spent. So it's like, okay, are we just doing beautification projects? Because that's in essence what it is.
Well, and listen, all of our road work, with the exception of when they redid the stretch of
Union Road and Bush Road.
Welfare Road around the corner.
Yeah,
through
Union Road.
up right around here.
Yeah, the Union Road.
Yeah, when they from the roundabout down.
Yeah.
When they redid that, they actually put in proper drainage. That they did right.
I wonder
and
who the engineer on that project was.
must be you. But that was done properly. Right now, all of a sudden, that road has been in good shape for all these years. But here we go, year after year after year. We don't do anything the right way. We just don't, right? And there's only even the patching job that they did. Can I say half-assed? Can I say half-assed on,
You
on
said
the
it.
radio? There's a way to patch. I mean, I spent a year as
At the end of the week, half the patches are back up.
Well, yeah, I spent a year as the CFO of a privately held, really big construction company way back in early on in my career. There's a way to fix a pothole, and there's a way not to fix a pothole, and simply putting paint around it to mark it and throwing some cold patch into the hole doesn't do it.
I'll add some explanation to that. So this time there was even the minister even explained, I think via press briefing and the newspaper, that they weren't going to do cold patching this time, and they did hot patching. And their ways of going about the hot patching,
They didn't do it right.
while they were doing Billy Folly, was to take a couple buckets and then go around the country or go around the island and filling patches. But in doing that, if you take a bucket and if you realize the further you move away from Pelican, the worse the patches got.
Yeah.
And the reason why the worse the patches got was when you put asphalt in a bucket, the further you drive away, the colder it gets. and asphalt needs to be applied, or at least hot asphalt needs to be applied
When it's hot.
when it's hot. So when it cools off and you apply it, it's basically sand. And that's why, for example, the patches in Point Blanche didn't last a week, because Point Blanche is the furthest away from Pelican, and by the time the asphalt got there, it was cold. So hot patching, it comes with a manual, and you gotta follow it, and the manual isn't hard. So that was a failure of that choice of method.
Well, the other thing that's really interesting is the way that they just did the job in a very sloppy manner.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Because so what's the name of the road that when you come around airport roundabout, headed towards Simpson Bay, and then you take the road down towards Mary's Boone, the road that Bada Bing used to be on. Bada Bing
Yes,
Road.
yes, the Bada Bing Road.
I know that's it. Bada Bing.
I think
It's
everyone
gone.
knows it now.
Right, but it's gone. Right.
Yes.
So there has been a recurring hole there that has been fixed and repaired probably as many times as I've been alive, right? I'm almost 60. They finally fixed it again with this effort, but rather than actually make it be flat,
Now it's a bump.
now it's a bump.
And I think even on Sucker Garden Road, honestly, you could attest for that. There's I will call it a crater.
Mhm.
If you were to fall in it with your bike,
Mhm.
that's it for you.
Mhm.
You know, and it's literally almost in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Right by the turn to
And-
go into Guana Bay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and here's a joke. That's right is adjacent to the swale that they put a couple of months back.
For the drainage there.
The
yeah.
drainage that turns into a mud, basically a mud catcher. But it's right next to it, which means something went wrong when they were addressing the swale.
To be
that
honest, I
damaged
think
the
those
road.
holes were there already before.
When
they
you say
were-
the
It got
swale,
deeper.
what's a swale? I don't
they
understand.
got they got
What's a
They got,
swale?
it's like
I-
a gut, sort of a gutter on the side.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I just didn't know that term. Okay.
Well, on Sucker Garden Road, there's a flat gutter.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean now. That
So-
There's
so-
a flat gutter.
So MP, I think there isn't a resident or visitor to the island that would say traffic's not a problem. I think we all agree traffic's a problem, and if it's just from really bad to horrendously bad, it's still bad. So in terms of solutions, the solutions are basically going to be the same, whether it's, let's say, on a scale from 1 to 100, a 85 or a 90 in terms of its horrificness, right? Okay. So as a member of parliament, there are things, for example, you get the budget eventually. It's late, and that's really annoying. But for sure, a link from the back of St. Peter's into Dutch Quarter, that would certainly help to alleviate traffic. There's been
so in other words,
discussions.
over the hill to the
No,
round
from St. Peter's all the way in the back, where
Right.
where the schools are, where St. Dominic's is.
right.
Go over the hill
Hill.
to Dutch Quarter, French Quarter, that border there.
Right.
That would alleviate a lot of traffic coming out of St. Peter's, because now there's only one way in or out.
Right.
This would
And what about then over the hill from the airport
Right.
roundabout, the
Ex-
causeway over the hill?
absolutely, that would eliminate a lot of traffic. So these are things that have been on the books as potential projects for a long time, right? As a member of parliament, couldn't you sort of force government to say, look, you have capital investment budget, make these investments? He's thinking.
No, I'm not thinking. I'm wondering. I'm sure Mr. Lee follows the parliament meetings.
No, some of them, no, they're too long.
No, so it's important to note on this topic. A lot of times when we're in parliament and we're speaking on legal stuff,
Hmm.
then you have like MP Roseberg and you have MP Peterson. They would jump up and be like, "Well, with my legal hat, seeing that they're lawyers." Well, in this case, when it comes to traffic, I'm a civil engineer specialized in traffic and mobility.
Hmm.
Right, so that's
This is what we invited to.
right. You would think so. So with that being said, at the end of the day, I don't disagree with anything you guys just stated at all. You even see some ideas when it comes to making around here in Simpson Bay, Cold Bay one way. You also hear certain one-way roads in the Phillipsburg area. They're all good ideas, none of them have been tested, right? None of them has been tested, and they are all from medium to large infrastructural changes, right? Or additions. They're not been tested.
So,
They
do you
haven't been
think
tested.
adding a link from, let's say, Causeway Bridge over to the French side, basically, you think that we need to test that concept to see whether it would reduce traffic?
Just like how you call it a link, right?
Mm-hmm.
Links, you have links, you have junction points,
Okay.
right? And when you connect one link to the next, it will have an effect, but we're looking for the optimal effect, right? Because we don't have abundance of money. So you have, for example, the link from Coal Bay to the other side of the hill. You have also from French Quarter, from the French side going over to St. Peter's. There are different links that are possible, right? Once upon a time, there was also the link adjacent to the LB Scott Road in the hill to
Mm-hmm.
come out there on Cahill, on the top of Cahill.
Mhm.
There are different. There have been different links discussed. There was even a tunnel discussed at a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Tunnel where?
um, I believe it was
The,
for
the suggestion actually was from where the Causeway Bridge ends in Colbay through,
Oh.
instead of going over the hill, go
Yeah.
through the hill to the French side there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So and in essence they are all good ideas, and in essence they all alleviate something, right? And if you're looking for the most optimal
Okay.
a
So
link,
if
you
you
need to
only have
test
the
it.
money to invest in
And
one of the links,
which one should we
Okay.
invest in? Because at that point, it's all just suggestions and ideas at that point.
but what we don't want is another year of studying.
And this is why in 2024 I'm like, let's start that trajectory, and basically now we would have had that information, right?
But from what I understand, when I was in government, I seem to remember some of the links have different legal issues. I think some
Yeah.
they need to still acquire land. So why not just
But-
start the process of
Path of least resistance.
all of those? Right, exactly. And is there a link that does not have legal challenges? And
I think
do that one while you're sorting out the other
I think that
challenges.
the path of least resistance out, if you're taking it from that ideology,
Mhm.
I think they just did that. They acquired land for housing, and that land had less resistance than the land for the infrastructure, right? But it's a question of priority. Yes, we need housing,
Mhm.
but if we don't address the infrastructure, we won't have an economy just now,
Right.
right? So
So
that-
I will tell you this, that one of our social media partners, a group called everythingstmartin.com, they did a social media poll,
Mhm.
and they asked, and this is primarily tourists and visitors, and they asked the question, what do you think the top issues are for visitors to the island? And the top two: crime, tourism.
Right.
It could be crime and traffic. Crime and traffic.
in all fairness, I agree 1,000%. But I believe if I wonder if you do a poll just amongst the residents, what the outcome would be.
I
And
bet.
I think it would be close by. I think
I think yeah.
we would
for
have
sure.
we would have a top three, and I think housing would be on it, right? So I'm not gonna sit here and say, hey, what the minister did was the worst thing ever
Mhm.
in acquiring land for housing. I just would have went about it differently,
Mhm.
in the sense of the amount of land that was acquired. It was based on a deal, I understood. But at the same time, what are we doing with the land we already have, that the government already owns? And if some of that money couldn't go out to investing in securing land for one of these infrastructural links, for example. Aside from that, what also needs to happen is zoning. If you don't zone, then basically
Big problem.
where you're thinking on putting a road right now, in the next 5 years, you're gonna have houses on it, right? So the one can't go without the next. And if you can remember, I brought a zoning motion about a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
It hasn't been executed, right? So from Parliament, to answer your question, if Parliament can't apply pressure, Parliament can make suggestions. I've done that. When it comes to applying pressure, yes, we can, but you need a majority for that,
Mhm.
right? And aside from that, you can say, can Parliament bring awareness? Can Parliament ask questions? Yes, but for that, the minister would have to actually come to Parliament when a meeting is requested. Right now, we have at least four VROMI meetings requested. At least I've requested at least 4 meetings, from committee meetings to public meetings, and he just doesn't come. So the question is, at that point, at what point will he be held accountable for showing up? Because if you don't show up, you can't have these discussions.
So I'm wondering, I'm gonna get
Does he
us.
come to press briefings? I don't know. Does he come?
He does come. He's sort of average in terms of attendance.
So if we were to invite the Minister of Rami and you to come do a joint discussion on some of these topics,
That's a no-brainer.
you'd be willing?
That's a no-brainer.
I'm gonna make the invitation. Let's see what happens. Let me do this before we get. It's 8:40. Let me take a quick commercial break. We'll get back on time and a little more with Member of Parliament, the Honorable Darryl York. Always nice to have MP York in the studio. Here's everything that's happening tonight. Welcome back to the program. My name is Dr. Sock. This is Fresh Air in the Morning. St. Martin Insights, news that matters to you with Emil Lee. Welcome back, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
And our guest this morning, MP Darryl York.
Good morning.
Good morning. And so listen, we've talked a little bit about traffic and some of the issues. What are some of the solutions?
Right.
What are the how do we fix
Let's start with short-term solutions.
What can we do now that doesn't require a huge investment?
Right. A lot of the potholes were marked out with paint, got all excited, and then now the paint's fading away and the potholes never got filled. At least on my side of the hill, that's what I'm seeing, right? So
And you're on the better side when it comes to that.
no, I think Simpson Bay is better. I saw was saying
Simpson Bay, they filled a lot of them. Well,
Okay.
if they were spray painted and marked out, they were filled.
Okay.
Of course, now they're bumps.
So, that's sort of critical because, like you were mentioning, in Sucker Garden, there's a pothole there that everybody knows about. So everybody slows down so they come to it and either go through it slowly or go around it, right? So that clearly creates traffic, right? So
Yes.
filling potholes seems like number one easy step to improve traffic flow. Clearly it stopped. Any idea why or what's the solution to get that up and running? Maybe it's because indeed it wasn't being done right and then they stopped it, or maybe they ran out of money, but as a member of parliament, how do you hold VROMI or government accountable for doing simple repairs?
So the question is about the potholes
Yes.
and how to avoid.
Patches, just patch it. Even if it lasts for 3 months, it's still going to be better than what it is now during the time when the traffic is highest.
From what I realized, if we're talking about the method of patching.
But forget the method. Just fill them so that traffic gets better.
But that's also a problem because you can fill it, but the manner in which you fill it is going to cause that within a week, 2, or a month, it's gone again. For one, simple rule: no sharp edges when you're filling it and those type of things. So if you look at the patches, they didn't even make a neat square before they filled it.
Exactly, and that makes it either last or not last.
It
It's
makes
not
it
how it
last
looks.
a bit longer,
Right.
right?
It's not how it looks.
And from what I've been seeing happening is just, okay, here's the asphalt, there's a hole, we fill a hole, and we try to even
But I'll
it out.
tell you,
And
MP,
that-
I'm
that-
so
that's not gonna
frustrated.
work.
I'm ready to go to SBS, buy a couple bags of cold patch, and just fill the holes at least for a month or 2. It'll be better.
But I'm sure you want it to last
Of course,
5
I
to
would.
6.
I would rather
So-
it's done right. But I'm
So
so
that's-
frustrated. I will go buy the cold patch myself and just fill it because it's just ridiculous.
Listen, to fill the hole improperly and fill the hole properly take the same amount of time, plus or minus a little bit. So do it once the right way and move on. And the fact that
And it saves you money.
and the fact that we have to go to the highest legislative body of the
Talk
land
about potholes.
to talk about potholes is just plain
Okay.
ridiculous.
How about this?
How
You used to
about-
work at Windward Roads. Can we do this? Can Windward Roads? I will sponsor that pothole because I drive through it every morning taking my kid to school. Right? Can we not say, okay, couple neighbors, we're going to pool the money and say Windward Roads, we got whatever, we got X amount of money
Well, I
now.
mean,
We
Billy
want
Foley
this
did
hole,
that.
this hole, this hole.
But Billy Foley just did it.
Yeah, but that's a whole
road?
road.
But
saying
this is smaller,
much.
so it's if it could have been done for a whole road.
But would Windward Roads be willing to coordinate, do you think, to say, okay, we need X amount for pothole number 1. When we hit our target, we'll go and fill it for you.
Well, seeing that would require a small amount of asphalt, that would have to be done simultaneously with another project.
Right. But say, okay, we need to do 10 at a time. We have pothole 1, 2, 3, and when we get this much money, we'll go fill it.
Mr. Lee, that's a question that that's best posed to the minister because he would have to give the okay for that.
So you mean Windward Roads couldn't even, if a private citizen
No, you
paid,
need permission from the
Oh my
government
gosh.
to do something on a public road. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. So I think you just said he attends the press briefings. I think that would be the best question to ask him
Okay.
at the following the
Okay.
next press briefing he's at.
A private
Public-private partnership.
partnership to fix potholes, which is embarrassing.
Should be.
That,
You know what? We should go and fix it ourselves, take our picture, put it on Facebook, and go ahead. Come Come get me. Come get me.
Well, I mean, we have our local street engineer, Tommy,
Oh, yeah.
on the Pondville. I mean, they never do him anything, and he's always repairing the road. So I would say it's a great initiative. Try it out.
Okay. But do you think Windward, because you used to work at Windward Roads, do you think they would cooperate? Do you think they would facilitate? Or you think they don't want to piss off government? Yeah, that's the way it'll go. Yeah, I already know.
It's worth a try. It's worth a try. You
Okay.
never know. Michiel, if you're listening.
Okay.
So let me. What are the simple solutions that don't require huge capital investments? We should be fixing potholes 12 properly, the right way.
I think
12 months a year
I think we're giving potholes too much
at
energy.
night. At
Um,
night.
The potholes is one problem, right?
Right.
That's one problem.
But what about
That-
just
that needs to be solved?
Congestion.
um,
What are
but-
some short-term things we can do for congestion?
So, for example, when we look at the Phillipsburg area, I want to say recently, about a couple months ago, you had the construction or the reconstruction of the Canagita Road, the part of the Canagita Road there at
To one way.
Robbie's Lottery, that
Right.
that little stretch
Mhm.
to make that part one way.
Has that helped?
No, if you ask me,
Yeah.
it made it actually worse.
I agree.
Because what happens is I think the idea behind it was to alleviate that turn there at the Real Auto, right? Because one could say that gets very much congested at certain points of the day. But by making that part one way, you alleviate the turn, but the turn is on a secondary road, and now you shifted the problem to the main road. Because what happens, the turn just before Robbie's Lottery, what used to be a no left turning onto the main road, it's now standard onto the main road.
Right. You've got to
So,
cross traffic to do it.
You got to cross traffic to do it, and in order to cross traffic, you got to stop traffic, right? So there you disrupt the free flow of the traffic, thus making the main road a problem where it wasn't.
Well, and you know,
Right.
how
And-
many times I've been on that road and I just completely forget.
Yeah.
Because of years of going
Exactly.
that way. Now you can't.
Exactly. And there's a whole science and actually calculation behind these type of changes, road changes, and one of the variables in that is the amount of time that your brain takes to realize that it has changed and going into making a maneuver, right? When you add that all up in traffic calculations, when you add that all up for thousands of people per day, you get a particular number as well, right? And this adds up per day, per week, and per year. So that one change, just because if they went up a next 100 to 200 about let's say 200 to 300 meters, where the old yellow building used to be,
Right.
the old
Sun
Ronnie
color.
building, sun color
Oh,
building,
Dating
that's a
myself.
known intersection. So if you were driving there and you had to turn right to go onto the main road, your time of reaction would have been much slower or
Right.
much faster because that's a known intersection, right? So that's what I say. A lot of times, if we don't know what the effect is of a certain change, sometimes by making changes we make things worse, right? So if you would have modeled that, you would have seen that, hey, if I push this road up, this intervention up 200 to 300 meters more, I'll have more of an effect on the traffic situation that I'm trying to alleviate. And if I stop here, I'm actually going to get a negative effect. And these are the things that we don't really test before implementing.
I want to ask you a question. I had someone suggested that we take Airport Road, Welfare Road, Union Road,
Make it all one way.
make it 2 lanes,
Yeah,
one
one way.
way, 2 lanes, one way, and make like all the way around the lagoon using the causeway as 2 lanes all going in one direction.
Mm-hmm.
What do you? I have mixed feel. I
have mixed feelings about it. I mean, when you first, on paper, it sounds perfect. And surprisingly, before my time, I understood that they tried it already. Long ago, like long, like maybe 2 decades ago, they tried it already.
Well, the
And
causeway's not that old.
it was told to be. I heard it was a success. It's before my time. I'm just repeating what was told to me. But when I listen, when I watch that for what it is in modern day, I have at the same time, say Maarten drivers are not used to driving on one direction on both sides of the road.
Mhm.
So that alone is gonna take a while to click in. Like, okay, this is allowed, this is not allowed, because okay, how do you go about left turning? How do you go about right turning? Right? So this is something that would have to be trained, taught, conditioned.
And our roundabouts aren't 2 lanes, are they? They aren't.
This one, yeah, yeah,
That one
yeah.
is.
So it could actually work, but I would be afraid of the traffic
Indeed,
collisions,
that's something
possible
you need to
collisions.
study.
Yeah, you need to
Yeah.
study it. And again, all of
Which
these ideas that I've seen people that, yeah, regular people just online just churn out ideas, and I have literally have not heard a bad one yet,
Mm.
but we
okay,
don't know what the effect is. We don't know.
so short term, how about we've seen some of these big tour buses that have problems navigating the roads, so they
I
kind of
feel the
get
tour buses should not be able to drive on certain roads. That's one. Secondly, tour buses, um, certain corners, as you just mentioned, are too sharp for the tour buses,
hmm.
thus causing
But I also
causing
see,
congestion.
they have these quad bike tours that they run like a train, and then they tend to hold up traffic to make
There's no
crossing.
regulation when it comes to to touring.
And I
So
see bicycles.
yeah,
Sometimes it's fine if they're in a single file, but sometimes they ride side by side, and that holds up traffic. So there's a lot of things that are happening on the roads that slow down traffic. Do you think that's something that needs to be addressed, or that's just part of life in St. Martin?
well, to be honest, I first when I read an article this morning in the newspaper about motor vehicle tax payments
Mm-hmm.
and how that's going down. But when I think on all these these tours, I question if these vehicles that are on the road even pay tax.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of them nowadays are electric, and you
Well,
don't
that's
see,
another thing. I
you
see some of these
you don't
electric
even,
bikes that are underpowered.
they're underpowered.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. They don't have a license plate. If they don't have a license plate, means they don't pay tax, but they're using the road,
Mm-hmm.
and so this thing is so compounded at this point. The question is, where do you start? And again, when we're looking at ways to alleviate the traffic, I think these small things are a lot of quick wins. But at the same time, you're wondering, okay, does it damage my tourism product? But allowing it damages the tourism product. But disallowing it also damages the tourism product. So you find yourself in a quagmire. Thus, then shifting the attention to other things. You have the potholes, you have the one ways, you have the no left turning options as well. Because, for example, there at the sundial in town, you can make that coming out and going in. You could make it a no left turning zone. That if basically if you want to turn, you got to go through the roundabout and come back up.
Mm-hmm.
So simple interventions like that. Um, I think at this point is worth trying out because you don't have the model to model it. So we gotta go by trial and error at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Gentlemen,
And then as well, you also have traffic regulation. So when it comes to the buses on the road, the way they stop, where they stop.
How about so the last thing
we
previously
spoke
with
about traffic police.
SHTA, we did a white paper on this, and it came down to whatever you do, you need a proper functioning public transportation system.
Yeah, I would say the buses.
Right now we have a bunch of buses with
Unregulated.
licenses who can go out whenever they want, wherever they want. There is no proper network, right?
Yeah, stopping in the middle of a corner.
Isn't that again something now that legislatively needs to be looked at and restructured?
And here is where it comes. So a lot of times you would hear, Parliament just talking, Parliament need to go make some laws, right? Now, as a former minister, certain laws can only be done from the executive side
Mm-hmm.
because it's also attached to many policies, etc., and it's more the day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are just too big for Parliament to do as an initiative law, right?
Right.
The things that we're speaking about right now, zoning, traffic regulation, those type of things, is impossible for MP or a group of MPs to do that because that information is in the ministries, and the law, the size of the law is way too big for as an initiative law, right?
Mhm.
So it has to come from the minister. So that's where you see MPs call meetings to discuss. We see MPs do motions to guide ministers in the direction that the people, thus the MPs, feel the ministers need to go.
And I know we're running short on time, so real quick, if enough members of parliament request that the Minister of Romy comes in to explain to the country what's his short-term, mid-term, long-term plan to manage traffic, does he have to come?
Yes.
And have you done that? Have you requested specifically about managing traffic, short, medium, long-term solutions?
That meeting was requested by my person in October.
And he has to come, but it doesn't specify when he has to come by.
He should come.
Okay.
I mean, you are a minister. If you're
But I
requested
always
to come-
came, yes.
Exactly. But I'm sure you had maybe one or two colleagues that maybe was not as punctual as yourself. So,
Right.
and at the end of the day, it comes down to the president of parliament, how strictly she enforces or pushes those requests. And I mean, if you're more concerned in coddling, or lack of a better word, protecting your minister, it's hard to protect and hold accountable at the same time. So sometimes we gotta pick a struggle, whether the situation either it doesn't matter if you're coalition or opposition. If the situation is dire enough to say like, hey, no, for the country, we gotta have this meeting, and it doesn't matter if you're coalition or opposition, then we gotta do it. But that point has yet to be reached.
Fair enough.
MP Darryl York, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. And,
Thanks for having me.
Promise me you'll come back soon.
Usual.
And we're gonna work on. I want to get Minister of Rami, Patrice Gums, and yourself in the room, and let's have a fruitful conversation.
I'm all for it.
A fruitful professional.
Have you ever
conversation.
invited me and I said no?
Of course. I caught you last night. You want to come tomorrow morning?
And here I am.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. It is. I'm way late. It's 5 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock. Marine and tropical weather update is on the way next. Brought to you by K Beach Club and Restaurant. K like character. Stay with us. We'll be right back.